Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for the transfer tips video for Game Week 18, blank Game Week 18. And yeah, we're going to get into the video, talk us through, we're going to go through the players that you should be looking to buy, sell, hold, and ignore, as always. So yeah, joining me, obviously, Jordan. How you doing? How's your start to the week been?
Yeah, the week's been all right, thanks. And hello to everyone, of course, who's watching the stream back and who has just joined the stream. Hopefully you're having a lovely week as well. But yeah, we're here for the transfer tips for blank Game Week 18. It should be interesting. I think transfers are very precious at the moment for some of us. And yeah, we're here to talk about obviously who we're going to buy, sell, hold, and ignore.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. And yeah, first up, the buy, I've gone with this pick, and I've picked Douglas Luiz as a buy. So yeah, where do we start with Douglas Luiz? So we know he's been really good actually so far this season with the 5 goals and the 2 assists as well. So it's been a bit of a role, I should say, for Aston Villa. We know he's a penalty taker for Aston Villa as well, which again adds to the benefit of why you should be looking at a player like Douglas Luiz. He also has a very nice fixture in game week 18, which is obviously the blank game week, and he has Sheffield at home. And I think at his price, 5.5 million, very cheap. His ownership is also surprisingly very, very low. I didn't think it was this low, 6.7%. So he's a differential. Not many people do have him in the higher ranks. And yeah, I think he's had 16 appearances, obviously pretty much played in every game. He's just a good pick, I think. He's just been suspended, hasn't he, as well? And he's come back after his suspension, I believe. So you're fresh to go, no worries about picking up a yellow card. I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people avoided him, because he was on the 4 yellows quite early. A lot of people avoided him because they were worried about the 5th. But now that's out the way, I think it's a great time to bring him in when you take a look at the next, couple of fixtures. Sheffield at home is nice in game week 18. It's Man United away in game week 19. After that, he's got back-to-back games against Burnley and Everton, and then Newcastle at home, obviously the tougher fixture in game week 22. But I think Douglas Luiz as a differential, I'm a big fan of. I think he's on penalties, which is great. And just in general, we know how strong Aston Villa have been so far this season. 2 home games in the next 3 as well. So yeah, I think definitely if you are looking for a cheaper player, like a Douglas Luiz, and you've maybe not got the budget to go somewhere else, definitely he's a good option. And as I've seen, this season, I've been quite impressed watching Douglas Luiz play for Aston Villa. So for us, for me anyway, he is a buy. And I definitely think you guys should be looking at ways to potentially about bringing Douglas Luiz into your team if you do want a differential. So yeah, he's the first buy out the way. Let's move on to the second buy. And obviously, you've gone with Richarlison as a buy. We spoke about him as well a couple of times previously. Talk us through why you've selected Richarlison.
Yeah, so I've selected the midfielder Richarlison for obviously many reasons. He has come back from his goal drought since game week 16, where he got that 15-pointer, scoring those 2 goals, obviously against Newcastle in that home fixture, which before that time, it's been a while since Richarlison has actually scored a goal for Spurs. But yeah, I thought he was a buy. I feel like, especially because of the Asia Cup coming up, near the time around game week 21. Son will obviously go to the Asia Cup around that time. Obviously, before that, he's still at Spurs. But I think for the foreseeable future, when obviously the Asia Cup is around, a lot of us will be, well, not me, but a lot of us will be taking out Son. The owners who do have him in your team, because he obviously will blank until obviously the Asia Cup has obviously finished, when he's obviously eliminated or goes on to however far. And Richarlison may potentially be a great buy to bring in early, even though Son doesn't go until around game week 21. I still think Richarlison at this point, with the fixtures that Spurs have, game week 18, they've got Everton at home. I feel like it's better at home for Spurs, especially with Everton, because we've seen Everton, they're pretty good at their home ground, but because it's away for Everton and home for Spurs, and the way they've been playing, I've liked the way they've played in the last 2 game weeks, and especially Richarlison. Between these 2 game weeks in 16 and 17, he's had a total of 24 points, and that was from 3 goals in the last 2 game weeks. And yeah, I like the like of Richarlison. He seems to have got his confidence back at goal scoring, and his ownership is really low currently. I don't think it will stay obviously that low, 2.5% ownership. It will creep up as the game week, obviously near the time when it's the deadline. he's had 47 plus of you transferring him in. And yeah, he's had 14 appearances, 5 off the bench, but I feel like he's more, I think, nailed on to play obviously full minutes of football in the Spurs team. And yeah, 4 goals, 3 assists so far this season with 5 clean sheets. And yeah, his XG stats aren't too bad. It's only his assist XG which has dropped a bit, but apart from that, his expected goals has gone up and his goal involvement has also gone up due to obviously the 2 goals he scored against Newcastle in 16 and the goal he scored against Nottingham Forest. He's on 2 yellow cards, so there's no fear of bringing Richarlison in at all. And yeah, his total points is, I'll say, moderately low for 56 because he hasn't had that many returns this season. But I feel like now it is the time to buy Richarlison for the fixtures that Spurs have, and obviously for the foreseeable future when obviously Son goes to the Asia Cup, we're going to actually look for another Spurs asset, and I think that will be Richarlison.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke about Richarlison, I believe, on the last deadline stream and told everyone to bring him in. And obviously, he went and got that lovely 9-pointer against Forest. So, yeah, definitely, I agree with this one as well. Richarlison as a buy. Let's move on to some players that we should be looking to offload, maybe. Now, these are players that we think maybe time's up on these players. And people might be surprised on the stream. I have selected Darwin because I've been a big backer of Darwin in the last few game weeks. And I did say, give him the Fulham game, the Sheffield game, and even the Palace game and the Man United game. However, he actually has blanked in his last, in his last 5 games. He's blanked in all of them. And it's Arsenal up next. Now, obviously, Arsenal is a tougher fixture. But however, it is at Anfield, and Liverpool are a lot stronger at Anfield. Even though they didn't beat Man United, they didn't lose the game. I think unbeaten for the season at home for Liverpool. So they are still strong at home. I'd still expect a good game from Liverpool, but obviously Arsenal are on form. They're coming to town and they're a good team as well. So I think with Darwin, where it comes as a sell is now, who don't you have? If you've not got Watkins in your team, then I would sell Darwin to bring in a Watkins. If that's where we're going. I just think I'd rather have Watkins over Darwin. I think Watkins is more a reliable player right now in FPL. It seems like he's getting more points, getting more goals on a consistent basis. Obviously, Darwin's had a few blanks. I still think Darwin's a decent punt, maybe if he's a third striker. But I would want, the likes of Watkins in my team. And if Darwin's holding you back from getting in a Watkins, then 100% sell Darwin, in my opinion. I think even Solanke, I'd probably prefer right now over Darwin in my team. So I think Solanke's got the better fixtures. Solanke obviously did score again in game week 17. We'll have to see if that does end up counting. But I still like Solanke slightly ahead of Darwin right now. And even Alvarez, obviously after the blank, Alvarez got a couple of decent fixtures. So it is tough to justify Darwin. We know what the positives are about Darwin. You take a look at his expected goals per 90, 0.66. His expected assists per 90 as well, 0.14. And in general, he does get a lot of chances. I know he didn't get many chances against Man United. I didn't think he was great against Man United, but I didn't think anyone up front was great. So I think Liverpool did struggle to create chances for Darwin against United. But, I do think it could be the time to sell. I think owners might be frustrated now after 5 games now where he's blanked. And some nice fixtures thrown in against Fulham and Palace as well. So, yeah, if I had Darwin and I didn't have Watkins, I think Darwin to Watkins is quite an easy move, in my opinion. So, yeah, he is 7.6 million. I think 84,000 transfers out already. His ownership is dropping. Unfortunately, obviously, I am a big Darwin fan, even though I don't have him in my team. But he's one of those, we said very early on, it is high risk, high reward, because he could easily score 2-3 goals in a match, as we've seen when he's had the chances, and you could have got a big haul. But that's the punts, I guess. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. And it seems, obviously, so far, the Darwin punt, for those that went on it, didn't pay off, especially with the nice fixtures. It is unfortunate for those that did go there. But yeah, I think Watkins is definitely the striker I'd prefer right now in my team, and even Solanke. You're going to add?
Yeah, just a little add on also, because he picked up the yellow card as well, he's now on 4. So I think that's also put people off of, obviously, just in case he gets a 5th yellow card against Arsenal at home before the reset in game week 19. Maybe if some of you don't want to take that risk either, going with Darwin for that fixture too.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, it will reset in game week 19, I guess. But if that's another reason, there you go. Jordan's just giving you, obviously, the yellow card situation as well. But let's move on to the next sell, Jordan. Obviously, Darwin, we all discussed as why we could be looking to sell him. You've gone with Mitoma as a sell. Talk us through this one.
Yeah, Matoma is a sell for me. Honestly, I'm not been impressed with Brighton. I thought their attack was pretty decent to start off with this season, but even now, I mean, you could just see from the player form from Matoma the last 5 game weeks, he's only had 1 assist, and that was in game week 15 against Brentford at home, which got him 5 points. Other than that, it's not been really much coming from Matoma, and it's been pretty much underwhelming from Brighton's attack. Even their defense, no clean sheet still for Brighton, by the way, still to this point in the season, no clean sheet whatsoever. So even their defense assets are currently struggling. And I feel like Matoma as well, he is a rotation risk, especially in this busy period where game weeks are coming thick and fast. And yeah, De Zerbi likes to rotate Matoma, and that becomes a risk. Obviously, we want to have playing players every game week, and because Matoma is being rotated around these close, tight fixtures, it's just a headache to know when he's going to play or start in matches. And as a Matoma owner, I've been quite obviously underwhelmed by bringing in Matoma. It hasn't really paid off for me. I've had him for a long time, and it feels like I haven't really got much from him since I've had him in my own team. But his ownership is dropping as expected, so he is around 21.6%. I expect that to drop below 20 by the end of this obviously deadline. And the 52,000 of you have at least transferred out with Tome, which isn't a surprise either. I mean, the way his form has been, it's not been great, from 1 assist in the last 5 games without no other attack and return. Even though the fixtures are nice for Brighton in the next 5, I still think even with nice fixtures, Brighton don't seem to be scoring that many goals either against teams, whether they're difficult or an easy opponent to face at home or away. And Matoma, it seems like he's not part of really the goals for Brighton, even if they do score. He's only had 3 this season, which doesn't seem as much as I expected him to have up to this moment in time, and 5 assists to match that. Also, on top of that, he has 4 yellow cards as well, so he's another player at risk before that game week 19 yellow card reset for those who are on 4 still. So again, that's another reason why you'd not want to keep Matoma, just to save you that headache of obviously having a suspended player. And yeah, I mean, these XG stats have dropped drastically. They're all gone down. These XG for goals, assists, goal involvements, they are non-existent for Matoma, and that is why I think he is a sell at this moment in time.
Okay, so Mitoma as the sell as well. Let's move on to some players that we think you should be looking to hold on to. Now, these are players that are being transferred out quite heavily that we think, you should be keeping faith with and keeping them a bit longer. Now, the hold is actually Trippier. Now, there was rumours in the Champions League game Trippier had an injury. However, for those that aren't aware, Newcastle are actually playing Chelsea right now in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. That game is ongoing. It's about 10 minutes in, just kicked off, and Trippier is on the bench. So we know Trippier's fit, he's fine, and he will play. I'm assuming, all things considered, he will play in game week 18. So I don't understand why managers, 51,000 of you have transferred Trippier out. He's just served his suspension for the 5 yellow cards, so no worries there in terms of suspensions. He's on the bench tonight, which means he's going to be fresh for that game against Luton away, which looks like a nice fixture for Newcastle. So there's absolutely no way I'll be getting rid of Trippier if I had him, in my opinion. And if you've not got him, I think he could be a good transfer in as well, especially with the next 2 fixtures when he's got Luton and then Forest. It does get quite tricky in game week 20 and 21. However, I still think Trippier is one of those players that, especially at home against Man City, I wouldn't worry too much, honestly, because I think at home, you don't know what you're going to get. They could beat anyone, Newcastle. They're that good at home. Away, they're not as good. But at home, I'd back him against Man City. I'd back him against Liverpool. Most teams, they are pretty strong. So, yeah, he is 6.9 million. So I think he had a bit of a price drop. But yeah, obviously we know Trippier missed out last game because of the yellow card, but that shouldn't deter you now. I think I was actually waiting for Trippier to get that 5th yellow card, so now I could bring him in. It's reset rather than bringing him in when he had 4 yellows. Always that potential where he can miss a game. So yeah, now I think it's a time potentially to bring Trippier in, especially if you've not got Haaland anymore and you've sold Haaland like I have and a lot of other managers maybe have. You've got a lot more money burning a hole in your pocket. Go spend it on a Trippier or a Trent as well. So I think definitely, if you've got Trippier, I wouldn't be getting rid of him just yet. I think the next 2 fixtures are very nice on paper. So yeah, Trippier's the hold. Next up, obviously you've selected another player as a hold. You've gone with Huang. Talk us through the thinking on this one and on why you've gone Huang as a hold. I believe, is he flagged still?
No, I don't
Oh,
think Huang is currently flagged.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Talk us through the Huang pick.
So yeah, I've gone with Huang as a hold for this game week. Now I know a lot of you would have been put off by the last fixture. Obviously, Wolves had against West Ham, losing to 3-0, and it looked like Wolves were pretty left out of that game, especially Huang. He didn't get much attack involvement in that game, and also they didn't score either, Wolves. But regardless of that, I still think Huang's a hold for the current moment. This might be a bit controversial because he is on 4 yellow cards and is another player at risk of being suspended potentially if he gets a yellow card in this next fixture against Chelsea at home. But yeah, I think Huang's still a hold for me because of obviously we can't ignore his form for Wolves. Even though Neto has been absent, Huang has still kept a considerable amount of good form. In game week 13, he scored a goal against Fulham away, and then Burnley at home, he scored another goal in 15. Even though he's had back-to-back blanks in 16 and 17, and Wolves didn't look that great, I still think for the fixtures he has upcoming, I still think they're pretty moderately good. Chelsea at home, I think it's a nice fixture to bounce back in, even though Chelsea are playing a lot better now. I still think Huang has a few goal involvements in that game. Brentford away, even that fixture, I'm not too keen on Brentford's defence. And Everton at home, again, Everton playing away, it's not as great as Everton playing at their own stadium as well. So, yeah, I see some goal involvements in potentially the next 5, if I'm honest, because Brighton and Man United as well. But because Huang's in the Asia Cup, he potentially might not play against Brighton away. So the next 3, I would say for Wolves, are I'll say pretty decent fixtures. And we can't ignore that Huang has scored 8 goals so far this season, which seems like quite a lot for a player that isn't relatively owned that much because his ownership is 11.6%. I believe I brought him in when he was 2.8%, and that was obviously after he scored that 10-pointer against Burnley at home in 15. So since then, a lot of you have brought him in, and unfortunately, you brought him in for the 2 blanks in obviously 16 and 17 where he got 2 points, but I wouldn't get rid of him yet. I'll still hang on to him, see what he can do against the next 3, and then obviously you will consider potentially removing him come game week 21 because obviously he'll go to the Asia Cup. But for now, I think he's a hold. He's on 4 yellow cards as well, which is a risk. But it seems like there is a lot of players that are near obviously that risk barrier of obviously suspension. But it does reset in game week 19. I'm willing to take the risk on Huang as well. But 73,000 of you have transferred him out, which seems quite a lot. I've lost the faith in Huang, but I think for a Huang owner, I'm still going to keep the faith. At 5.8 million as well, he's very cheap. And yeah, that is my reasons why I'll be holding on to Huang.
Okay, nice one. Let's move on to some players that we should be looking to ignore then. Now, these are players that are being heavily transferred in that we think, you could go without. Now, first one up, it is the man of Game Week 17, really, and that is Mohamed Kudus of West Ham. Now, he just come off a brilliant performance against Wolves, wasn't it? And getting the 2 goals against them in a lovely 16-point haul. So obviously, he just got a massive 16-pointer. People are rushing to bring him in. It does make sense because obviously in game week 13, he also had a 10-pointer. Game week 14, he had a 9-pointer. And in game week 17, he follows it up with 16-pointer. So he's doing excellent. In the last 5 games, he's got a lot of points. However, the reason why I've put Kudus as an ignore is the fact that he will be going to AFCON, I believe, which again starts in game week 21. So for the next 3 fixtures, he's there. And those are the tough ones, depending on how tough you think Man United at home is. Arsenal away is going to be tough, and then Brighton at home as well. So because he's going to go to AFCON, I just think there's no point bringing him in because that's another player you're going to have to transfer out again in 3 weeks' time. And the fixtures, again, aren't the greatest. Obviously, game week 19 is Arsenal. He's been brilliant. I think he's a great player. However, I think the time to bring him in was probably in game week 13, if I'm being honest. Because you look at that run, Burnley, Palace, Tottenham, Fulham, Wolves. I can't believe I didn't actually look at that fixture run that he had. Because when you look at that fixture run, you think it's a no-brainer to bring in a West Ham attacker. Obviously, Bowen was the one most people were looking at. Obviously, maybe we should have looked at Kudus. After the Bowen injury, Kudus was the one to go to. But I think now I wouldn't be bringing him in just because the AFCON's coming up. So I wouldn't want another headache, especially if you own likes of Salah. who's going to AFCON, if you own a Decore in your case, if you own a Son even or a Huang who are going to the Asia Cup, you don't want those sort of players bringing in right now, especially when they're off so soon. So Kudus, great player. Fair play if you had him since Game Week 13. You've enjoyed a lot of points, but I think now is a time to wait and maybe get him back after he comes back from AFCON. So yeah, that's why I've put Kudus as an ignore. And then finally, the final ignore. Obviously, you've gone with this pick. You've gone with Pickford. Talk us through of this selection because he's done very, very well as well recently.
Yeah, he's done extremely well in terms of Everton. Even though they had that 10-point reduction, it seems to have boosted, obviously, their morale and form since Game Week 14, because Pickford has had 4 consecutive clean sheets in a row, which, in terms of Everton, that's pretty crazy because they've had 6 in total and 4 of them have come in the last recent game weeks. And obviously, Game Week 14 against Nottingham Forest, clean sheet. Newcastle at home, surprisingly a clean sheet there. Chelsea at home, another clean sheet. And obviously the most recent one, Burnley, in that Game Week 17 fixture. So yeah, the reason why I picked Pickford as an ignore, as you can see from the fixtures, especially in the next 2, Game Week 18 and 19, you've got Tottenham away and Man City at home. And even though Everton have been playing really well so far this season, and obviously Pickford getting the 4 clean sheets, I don't see a clean sheet in it for the next 2, I believe. So I think I'll be ignoring Pickford for the next 2 game weeks at least. After that, though, you may consider bringing in Pickford if you're looking to make a goalkeeper transfer, especially when the wild card comes into play. But I think for now, I'll be ignoring bringing in a goalkeeper, especially. I think you've missed the boat if you haven't got Pickford, at least until Game Week 14, where you've been getting the clean sheets. Because now I feel like if you bring him in now, I can see potentially not a clean sheet against Tottenham away. And even with Man City not playing their best, I still see them potentially scoring as well against Everton. So I think in terms of the 50,000 of you that brought Pickford in already, you may have jumped on the boat too late from not getting his 4 clean sheets he had prior to now. And yeah, his ownership is creeping up a little bit, 8.6%. And yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I think Pickford is an ignore, just because of obviously the fixture swing now. They were pretty good in the last 4, but now I think Pickford is an ignore.
Okay, nice. And can we just quickly get a recap then of the players we've selected? If you could just run us through it one more time, the buy, sell, and holds, and the ignores.
Yeah, so we've got for the buys, we've got Douglas Luiz and Richarlison. For the sells, we have Darwin and Matoma. For the holds, we have Trippier and Huang. And finally, for the ignores, we have Kudus and Pickford.
Okay, lovely. So those are the 8 players, guys, we've selected. Let us know your thoughts in the chat as well. And if you're watching on a playback, do drop a comment as well. It really helps with the algorithm. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree? We're always, interested to know what you guys think as well. But yeah, those have been our picks, guys, for the transfer tips for game week 18. We're back again tomorrow for the team selection, and then Jordan will be back on Thursday for the deadline stream. So a lot of content, a lot of videos that we're dropping for you guys nearly every day. It seems we're streaming. So if you are enjoying the content, you appreciate what we do for you guys, hit that like button, guys. It really helps support the channel. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well. If you're new around here, we're gonna take a few comments and then we're gonna wrap the stream up as well. And then yeah, before we head out, Spurs 64 captain on Watkins, Son or Bowen. I mean, we will go into depth in captaincy on tomorrow's video because the team selection's tomorrow. So I'm going to not answer this one. Sorry, Spurs 64. You'll have to tune into tomorrow's video when we break down the team selection for game week 18. And George says Huss, Green Arrow. Yes, Green Arrow for this week so far. Big Green Arrow in game week 17. Hopefully we can move into game week 18 and do the same. Agree on Trippier. Looking to get him in this week. Just not sure for who yet. And finally, Roman says, lads, with Robert Sanchez injury until late January and Ariola being very uncertain, what goalkeeper would you bring in for a 5-game stretch? Ideally, not Dubravka. If I put you on the spot, Jordan, a goalie.
Yeah, I mean, for the next 5, I'd probably pick one of the goalkeepers I have, and that is Leno. His game week 18 fixture is Burnley at home, which was like a pretty good one for getting a clean sheet in. Not only that, though, he did get a clean sheet back-to-back in 15 and 16 against West Ham and Nottingham Forest, both home fixtures as well. So all the more reason these next 5 in terms of home fixtures, Burnley at home is pretty good. I see a clean sheet there. Bournemouth away, 19, not so bad. Arsenal, maybe not in 20, but then he's got Chelsea away and then Everton at home. So I think I'd pick Leno for the next 5 if I had to pick the goalkeeper.
Okay, nice one. There we go. So that is it from us. We are going to wrap it up. And as I said, we're back again tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. UK time for the team selection for Blank Game Week 18. Make sure you guys tune in. Should be a good stream again. And that is it from us, guys. Thank you for watching. Anything else you want to add, Jordan, before we do wrap it up?
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the football at the ongoing. Obviously, tonight there's a few competitions underway. But yeah, until then, tune in tomorrow for the team selection where you can see our plans for both our teams. But until then, take care and see you soon.